Welcome to Kaleidoscope, where we are positive, daring, different, and also traveling, painting the town red. Here in Georgetown, Texas, that's exactly what happens when the town hosts the annual Red Poppy Festival. The town goes red. And then there's the most beautiful historic town square in Texas, with some buildings dating to the early 1900s. Southwestern University, the oldest university in Texas. Iconic trekking trails through Lake Georgetown, a 7,000-foot cave reminiscent of The Lord of the Rings, and Georgetown has been a location for a number of Oscar winning movies. So that's Georgetown in Texas, which we are visiting today. Later on in the show is a fashion designer with a passion, an entrepreneur bent on growing Jaffna, and some decadent Swiss cuisine. A massive thank you to our wonderful partners on the show, Selico Life, CDB, and The Daily Morning. If you like our show, you know what to do. Subscribe, follow, and like us. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
You can now start a CDB iDeposit digital fixed deposit and experience a range of special benefits from CDB.
From historic Georgetown, this is a quick look at the week that was on CDB Snapshot. Sri Lanka's inflation reduces further to 4% in August compared to July's 6.3%. Food inflation goes down to a negative 4.8% in August from July's negative of 1.4%. CBSL Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe is named among the world's top central bank governors by Global Finance. The UN expects to provide over $300 million to Sri Lanka for development programs. Mercedes-Benz unveils a new electric concept car that reportedly can outdo any Tesla model. Less than 2 weeks after conquering the moon, India launches its first spacecraft to study the sun. Call the X-Men, we've got a canine mutant. A puppy is born in Costa Rica with 5 legs and 2 tails.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Silico Life.
Welcome to Selico Life News Capsule. Jaffna Horticulture is all about modernizing agriculture in Jaffna while imparting skills and knowledge to the people of Jaffna to work in ISO certified organic farms and food processing facilities. Meet owner Justin Kumar, who innovates agricultural processes using ozone tech, sub-zero spice grinding, and new drying methods and freeing food of contaminants, toxins, and microorganisms. Justin, welcome to Kaleidoscope. Why did you set up in Jaffna?
One of the main reasons the area was neglected for the last 40 years due to the war and then after subsequent rehabilitation time, and then the people there were unemployed and also the few jobs offered there was underemployed, mainly for women and people who are not educated, didn't have the formal education. And then the climate condition was ideal for agriculture and there was abundance of land underutilized after the war.
So what has the A to Z been like?
We started in 3 phases. The first phase being developing the land, setting up the infrastructure and setting up a model for modernized agriculture that is suitable in Jaffna. The second phase is to set up a value addition, food processing, world standard ISO organic certified manufacturing plant. So we have done both of these, and now the next phase is going to be scaling up, involving community-based farmers and expanding our range of products and scale up the production.
What products are you concentrating on?
Our agriculture focus is based on what Jaffna is known for and ideally suited climate condition in the Jaffna Peninsula. So our primary long-term crop, we are going with mango, and this is export variety mango, which is very marketable in international market. And then we have short term, we are going with Jaffna chili, and then we also do the end product, chili powder, and then turmeric, moringa powders, and these are all packaged to market in the mainstream supermarkets or Amazon online business.
And now for our market sketch this week. After a near continuous downward spiral over the last month, the all share price index at the Colombo Stock Exchange moved up by 3%. Oil prices jumped dramatically this week and reached near one-year highs of $87.80 per barrel as both Saudi Arabia and Russia announced they would extend their production cuts until the end of this year. Gold prices remained flat this week at $1,926 per ounce levels. You've heard of solar power, wind power, and hydropower. What's next? Wave power. An Israeli company develops pioneering technology to harness the power of ocean waves to generate electricity, saving the world one wave at a time. If you like green, hop on over to Hotuan, China, an abandoned fishing village which the residents left to ruin in the 1990s and is now completely overrun with vegetation. Jeff Latham makes weddings breathtakingly beautiful. Flowers are his muse, and look what he does with them. Fashion designer Amilani Pereira is not just about fashion. She weaves bespoke fashion into the threads of empowering women. Her self-titled fashion brand, Amilani, has been featured in the 2016 Asian Designer Week and showcased in the USA Sri Lanka Fashion Week in 2017. But what is perhaps the most important aspect of Amilani's work is her partnership with the UNFPA, empowering and uplifting abused women in Sri Lanka. Through this partnership, Amilani engages with survivors of violence in her product development and conducts mentoring programs for these women. Looks like the old adage is true. Not all heroes wear capes. Some design them. Your work with the UNFPA, with abused women, how did this come about?
I was always passionate about this work, and I have been working in sustaining these women. I think I got it from my parents, so it's kind of like a hand-me-down project which I have been working with, but I never thought of fusing this with my line of work, with fashion. It came about in a random conversation I had with one of the UNFPA representative, where we had this passionate talk about gender-based violence, and then she said, why don't we use this platform?
So you have a trilogy of collections already shown. There's Unbreakable, With Her, and Heal. How did these come about really? What was the inspiration?
So that was the first collection in 2020, which was a very challenging time as well due to COVID. So the entire collection was based on what I have been hearing, how women and girls get shattered and how they get cornered and pushed around, to tell them that it's not the end of the world. You have much better life after. So that's the message I wanted to give from Unbreakable. Later on only, I actually visited these shelters. Then only I absorbed like how wonderful these women are, how creative, and they had so much of energy. What I wanted to give out from the second collection was to let people know that we need to protect the Sri Lankan her, whether she's coming from the northern province or the southern province, or even the central, most wealthiest families, or the most, humble beginning families. You need to protect her for who she is. The third collection was the part where I wanted to connect. That is where the fashion actually fused with gender-based violence. The question of what were you wearing? This is a question which has been asked in the entire world. That's what I wanted to bring out from this collection, where it actually made a point that fashion needs to speak up. It's nothing to do with what you wore. It's everything to do with his internal factor. So Heal was all about that.
When working with these women, what is the one thing that stood out for you?
Their courage. For me, listening to their stories, most of these women, 90% of these women have been, the perpetrators have been from their closest family member. I don't know whether even I have that sort of courage if I had to go through something with that. With one of my family members, because we run to the family if something like that happened to us.
What exactly did you work with these women when you were on this project?
The first thing I taught them was about color theory and about working on embroidery techniques, which Mrs. Caroline Jury wore at Unbreakable Collection at Colombo Fashion Week. They know the technique, it's just they don't know how to put colors together. I also taught them about different entrepreneurship skills, how to bring up a portfolio. Then UNFPA wanted me to reach out to the differently abled survivors who are sheltered in Anuradhapura, in Akasa. That was a bit of a challenge to see what would work best in terms of teaching them, and it had to be something more or less the same ground, because otherwise I didn't feel right to give different activities to different people, because the whole point is to make them welcome, saying that all of us are equal and you can bring up something beautiful out of the thing. So I taught them how to weave macram. And Savithri, you won't believe, the person who did the best macram work was the woman who was blind, who couldn't see. That's how wonderful these women are.
Today on Life in 60, we are indulging in some of the best Swiss food which Chef Jean-Pierre recently plattered out at the Swiss Food Festival at Cinnamon Grand Colombo. Needless to say, it was an alpine treat. Here's Chef Jean-Pierre.
The Swiss food is very simple, is simplicity and is pure. Because in the summer, during the harvest time, we have to preserve all the food. So that was the birth of fondues, raclette, pickled things, air-dried beef, and this came out of the tradition and is now very famous in Switzerland and in the whole world. We adapt from the French kitchen, we adapt from the Italian kitchen, and from the Northern kitchen, because we are surrounded by all this country, and because we are the smallest of them, we influence all this kitchen.
So it's adieu from Georgetown. We'll be back next week with lots more.